Hi, this is Summer Todd. Do my show tonight on just various subjects. We're going to kind of kick it off with some mysterious disappearances and things like that, which I'm sure will be an interesting conversation. I'm going to let my son Austin will be here, so he's going to start off with a story about someone that disappeared mysteriously. So, Austin, you ready?
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember. Was it that? It was that story about that guy that disappeared during the blackout, right?
Yeah, actually, they think he caused the blackout. Wasn't that it?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how it went. There was a guy. I think it was in New York City, and he worked at like this power plant, and then there was a big blackout. And then during that blackout, he went missing, and he was never seen or heard from again. And they suspected he was the source of the blackout, but they don't know why he went missing afterwards, or if it was on purpose or anything, because he was one for questioning, and they could never find him. And then he just dropped off the face of the earth.
Doing some investigation, though, wasn't he, on aliens or something? There was some things he was getting close to they didn't like, wasn't it? I'm trying to find the story with it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm trying. That was the part I was missing, because I didn't get a chance to read the full article. But he was like really big into everything about aliens. You know, like a couple people I know, and
Now,
he was.
are you talking about specifically like ancient aliens or something like that? Was he involved in some kind of show or?
Oh, here it is. I got it.
No, I was just giving you a hard time, Roger.
Oh.
Here's the one you. And I'm gonna look at his name.
Did this man get stuck in the past? In 1995,
Mike Markham.
Mike Markham.
Oh, okay.
He was using compact lasers to set up a time machine.
Now be careful with that, because you'll get hit with copyright.
Yeah, and he was.
So
They think he caused this blackout, and then he kind of just mysteriously disappeared. He was a recluse, and he was doing some stuff, like I said, with that stuff. So yeah, that was it, Austin. You remember the story now, don't you?
yeah, I remember it now. So this guy was using compact laser beams to try and build a time machine, and then one night he disappeared, and he was never seen or heard from again. That was on the same night as a blackout. And then a few weeks later, a newspaper article turned up, I guess in like a microfiche library. Somebody was going through it looking for something, and they found a newspaper article from the 1930s that this guy named Michael Markham had turned up in a metal tube on a beach in New York, I think was where he lived. He turned up in a metal tube on a beach in like 1932 or something. Now he was working on this project in like the early 2000s, and somebody was going through the old microfiche newspaper articles of the library, and they found an article about him having turned up in this tube on a beach dead in the 30s.
Right.
So the speculation was that he had succeeded in going back in time, had maybe died while he was going back in time, or had not long after he had gotten there, and that he stayed trapped in the past. That was the speculation. We'll have to link the description to that story, maybe if we're able to. We can link it in the description section or the comment section so people can watch it, maybe.
Yeah, and Nick did say, I mean, at least said on the YouTube video that he caused that blackout when he was working on that.
Yeah, they think the compact lasers he was trying to use to induce time travel caused that big citywide blackout that happened that night. because it did something to the power grid.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know why someone when you know about time travel if he that was
Uh,
what he was.
it's a big thing though. See, like you've got a lot of people, especially into the stuff like I'm into, the strange stuff. You know, like that talk about like time. What was strip stream? Oh no, something stream, slipstream, and yeah, slipstream. And
Yep.
there's also people that talk about time travelers that, and they show like photos on YouTube, like where people back in the 1920s have a cell phone, you know, on TV sets, you know, or
Hmm.
television sets and stuff. So
Right. I've seen some of those pictures. Yeah. Um.
that's one of the things that I really would like to get into sometime, but people don't really talk about it very much. You know what I mean? I'd
Well, I
really.
think it's kind of scary, and like the one time I felt like I might have been in a time slip for just a few seconds was pretty scary because I mean, what if you go into it and you don't come back out?
It
I
gets
mean,
it,
people even like to talk about that.
it gets more intense too, like interdimensional time travel.
Yeah.
They talk about ball-headed guys that freaking uh, travel in between dimensions and time, and like you know when you ever feel, the reason why I ask people what they feel about deja vu is usually it opens up the topic if you're interested in that subject. And the thing about deja vu is it's a tear within the fabric of time, according to these people. You know,
Really?
yeah. Whenever you have a feeling of deja vu or you have a migraine headache that just pops into your head, they believe that freaking tear in the fabric of time happened, and it causes a rift which makes your mind freaking react to it like that. So every time you have a moment of deja vu or you have a migraine headache or something, something's happening with the continuum. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Now, so does that lead into
Yeah,
like reincarnation or too? Or I mean, people think that deja vu is because of that you've been there before, so you're reincarnated, right?
Well,
Is that a
deja vu or not deja reincarnation is just basically transferring from one body to another. You know what I mean? This is like literally freaking traveling back in time or to another dimension. Like you literally travel there.
so like? Well, I remember my daughter saying she had deja vu when her dad was in a hospital, and she said this was just so too weird. Everything just felt like she'd done that before on that certain day. So I'm not sure, what that was about. Yeah.
She probably did do it at some time in a different alternate reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, I've had many episodes of deja vu. It's weird,
It's really
and
creepy.
I remember back when I used to experiment with psychedelics a lot. I don't know if there's something to this or not, but it would always feel like I was in the present moment, but at the same time I was in the past or like parallel to it somehow or another. Like me and my cousins, we'd go out riding around late at night and stuff, all fucked up and shit, and it would feel like we were driving around. Now this was the early 2000s when we were doing this, but it would feel like we were driving around, and it was like in the 1950s or 1940s. It
That's
was it was it was it's I knew what year it was still and stuff, but at the same time it felt like we were back in the 40s and 50s and stuff. And
wow.
at any moment we'd pass one of those old cars or something. I mean, we never did, but it was a strange feeling. I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. How that what the mechanics of that could have been, because there had to have been something to it. Because I've heard that from a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
Could have been
It might just
recalled
be that
memory.
Yeah, I mean the it recalls it because it reminds you of it so much. Maybe you
I
know.
think maybe like the imprint on the areas we were going through kind
Could be
of,
that, or
I was more in tune with it.
just not nobody being out to distract you, and just the whole atmosphere kind of comes together, and brings those memories back or something. You know, that's kind of how I felt when I was walking to work, and I felt like I was going back. It seemed like everything, like not just the smells, but the sounds and everything came together for a moment there to kind of, you know, make me go almost go into that time slip. And maybe for a few seconds, I'm pretty sure I did.
It's like you walked through a it's like you walked through a tear in the continuum and then right back out of it again.
Yeah.
But you didn't walk through like a really big hole in it.
Well, I didn't go completely, but I think it's all those things that
Well,
seem to
well,
me like
hold on a minute, you two. Let me kind of interject on this. What if you did walk through the tear and you didn't come back out? What
that's
if
what
what if
that's
maybe
what
it, yeah?
I think I did for a few minutes, and I think everything
No,
that
I mean, see right there, like
what printed on my brain, it was
not
all
not
in
for
there.
a few minutes. What if you are in the alternate dimension right now? Like when you went through that tear, you became a part of this dimension from a dimension you were in before.
Oh yeah, Austin's mentioned that to me because well, I had a bad car wreck, and he always says, "Well, how do you know you didn't die?" Because I thought I had, because it was so traumatic, but I
Hmm.
didn't. But then he was like, "How do you know you didn't?" So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Like what I was trying to tell her was like what if there was a dimension where you actually did die, but you skipped to another dimension where things went on as they would have had you survived the
Right.
car wreck because
Right.
you had a certain amount of time to be so you're in the continuum now where you survived it. There's another continuum where you're dead from the
Hmm.
car wreck.
Right.
That was kind of
Oh yeah. Right. I was just trying to get it where it's lighter.
She's getting
Um.
excited. She's getting excited. She picked up the laptop. She's like, I gotta get ready for this
Well,
one.
trying to get it where it was lighter, but it's dark. It's worse over there.
here. I can see you perfectly.
That's
Yeah.
good. It's dark to me. But well, with the car wreck though, I didn't feel like I went into another time. I feel like something was there with me. Definitely.
Hmm.
I wasn't raised in the church. My parents weren't very religious or anything, but um, when I had that car accident, I felt like there was something in the car with me telling me I was going to be okay, and I just felt it. It was like somebody just cradles you or something. And but I don't think that was a time slip, and I wasn't hurt badly. So I mean, I had a broken arm and a lot of bruising, but it was a bad accident. I don't know how I walked away from it, but
You
um,
were transported to another dimension. This is what
there
happened. You see,
there had something there because it had the guy that was driving the truck. I didn't realize it, and I read it like back then we had newspapers. It was in '82. Um, I was reading it, and it was a steel truck, and he had 20 tons of steel on that. I remember seeing the big roll of steel on that truck. On it was a semi, so it was on the. They had the rolls back then. They had them chained on or whatever, and I thought, I look at when I was getting in the ambulance, I didn't think about it, but when I read the newspaper article, it said that he had 20 tons of steel. It was Southwest Ohio Steel Company in Hamilton here. 20 tons of steel on the semi, and he jackknifed the load.
oh wow.
Or I was like, "There's no." My husband was like, he's like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Yeah, I don't. Is that real?" I said, 20 tons? He's like, "Well, the steel rolls weigh a lot." But I was like, how did he do that? And still even then I got hit broadside by the semi, and it racked I mean, broadside's the worst kind of accident you can almost have outside a head on,
Hmm.
especially with a semi. and it wrapped up my car around the front of the truck, and it was terrible. It was terrible. But like I said, everything that happened, my seatbelt was cut off or broke off at the just the right time, and I went out to the side door on the seat and on the passenger side. So when the wreck was over, I was on the street basically on the seat, and I just got up, and I felt like I was dead, because it was the whole thing was so unreal. And I'm just standing there thinking, I can see this, and I'm watching everybody, but I'm dead, you know. And then this guy comes running over to me, my neighbor. He was following, I didn't know him very well, but he was following me. I think he was going to work too, and I was going to work that morning. And he comes over and says, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." And then he's like, "Well, you want me to call somebody?" Because this is so funny. We didn't have cell phones or anything back then. And there was a little phone booth. This was in this square, and there was a couple bars and one of like a little deli or something there in this small town. And there was this little phone booth there, and the guy ran over to the phone booth and called my husband. And my husband heard it on WLW or something, one of the down in the copters that they see the accidents. So he's listening to it, and he hears about this accident, and he knows it's me, and he's coming up from like Cincinnati, I think, and he thinks I'm dead, and he sees them taking the car out on a flatbed, which is just destroyed. Like the windshield was like in a triangle. It was all buckled up. It was just destroyed. My car was destroyed. So he figures I'm dead. So he gets to the hospital, and I'm okay, and he's like freaking out. But the whole thing was weird. When you look at all the stuff that happened around it. And,
man, dude, I'm telling you, dude, freaking, I'm really impressed with the freaking story right there, because like you're gonna make so many people watch this. Like the views are gonna be just outrageous. Like what you just said there, you just started breaking out into a story and shit, and I'm like, wow, dude.
yeah.
That was good. I mean, that was really, you like opened up and told everybody about something that was traumatic, and I'm just amazed. That was a good.
But I really didn't tell what happened in the car,
It doesn't matter. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's the most.
Yeah.
But
What happened in the car makes it even more incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, go on. I didn't want to disturb you.
Yeah. Well, but, I mean, when you go in slow motion, so that's why Austin said, well, maybe you did die, because when I was going to work, and I kind of looked to the right, to the left, and then to the right, and I pulled out. Well, I pulled out, and I saw this truck coming, and I was like, oh my God. And he was like right there almost. And so I knew he's going to hit me, and I kind of went down in the seat. I took my elbow up over my head like this, and I was like, I think I still had to hold the steering wheel. And when he hit me, my arm went back. That's what broke my arm. And I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. And that's when I felt that presence in the car. It was just like when you wake up and you're warm, and I would say probably what you feel like maybe when you're in your mother's belly or something, when you're, the mother's womb or something. I was like, this is crazy. And I heard a voice, but I didn't see, of course I didn't see anybody, because everything, there was breaking glass. It's just phenomenal what it sounds like. And so it was just like somebody whispered in my ears, or just put it in my head and said, you're going to be okay. And I feel like it was a woman, and it's going to be all right. Don't worry. And it was, then I calmed down, because I was like, well, and then it was over with so quick. So that's why Austin said, maybe something happened and you went somewhere else. But
you brought that up in the first interview you did with me, didn't you?
I think so. I didn't go into as much detail.
The very first one.
Yeah.
I didn't go.
Yeah, I still have that first episode.
Yeah.
I went back and watched that not too long ago, I think. But you didn't go into as much detail about it. You were more into like just a guardian angel having intervened that day, without going into as much detail as you did now.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
She's been around us long enough, and she's like freaking breaking it down.
breaking out into song.
Yeah.
But now part of the reason I told her she may have died and like skipped to another dimension was because years ago when me and her used to read those old Stephen Wagner stories. You know how people write into his website. It was on about.com. There was a number of people who wrote in there who had attempted suicide, and they said they would hang themselves and the rope would try to hang themselves and the rope would break, or they would try to shoot themselves and the gun wouldn't go off. But then they'd like go out several days later to shoot the gun they tried to kill themselves with, and it would fire perfectly. And some of these people that had tried to kill themselves started thinking, well, what if the rope didn't actually break, but I skipped to a dimension where it did because I had to be this person for a certain amount of time, or the gun actually did go off, but I skipped to a dimension. So there was a lot of stories on there from on about.com with Stephen Wagner where people were talking about that. Like there were several of them that really stuck out to me. I was like, well, maybe that's what happened to Mom. Like something intervened and skipped her to another dimension, like a guardian angel skipped her to a dimension where her life continued on as it would have had she survived, but in still another dimension she died. And then, like, you remember Roger, that old show Coast to Coast AM?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Okay, years ago, I used to listen to that a lot too, and I heard another story on there where a guy got into a real bad car wreck, and it was just as bad as what Mom was describing, where the car was just totally mangled. But he was like, there's no way I could have walked away from this. And he started feeling really guilty because he was like, well, what if I died in another dimension and I left my family behind grieving, but in this dimension I'm with my family? And he started feeling real bad about it. That was like a story I think he called in to tell him.
Wow.
So that was where I kind of started getting those ideas that maybe that was kind of what had happened, because there could be like a totally parallel dimension where you died in that car wreck or whatever, and then I don't know what the way things would have been.
In parallel,
it's impossible to say. But
we were talking about that whole story, and then we talked about how Austin said, remember what you said, Austin, about the guardian angel cutting the seatbelt off at the just right. Yeah, and then there was something happened to you, Roger, wasn't there? That was similar. Like I was telling John, I think when I first heard that you went down. Did you almost drown or something?
Yeah, it was in Arizona. When I'd say I was about maybe 12, getting ready to hit 13, and I was a pretty short guy at that age. And they have these reservoirs, these canals, where frickin' they transport water to frickin' crops and everything out there because they have to reserve their water. It's dry, you know? And these are concrete, and they always put up warning signs telling everybody do not swim and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm a 12-year-old kid, and I get it in my head that I'm gonna frickin' be like Huck Finn, and I'm gonna build a little frickin' raft out of a tire, and I put frickin' like these what do they call them again? Oh my God, where you frickin' put shit on them and frickin' lift them up with a crane, or with a, my goodness, the wood planks.
Oh, pallets?
Pallets,
like
yeah.
Wood pallets?
Yeah, I took big
pallets.
I put a pallet on top of it and roped it off and everything, and I was going to get down there and sit on it and row down the frickin' canal thing. The only thing was is I didn't realize how slippery the edge of that frickin' canal was, and I slid right down into it. So.
Oh, and you can't. It's hard to get out, right?
Yeah, I mean, if at the height I was, man, I couldn't even feel the bottom, and when I went under, I could barely feel the bottom, and the current was grabbing me. So what I had to do is grab this little crack that ran up the side that had concrete. You know how they have the little grooves, and then little bits of concrete sticks out from the groove where the
Yeah.
cracks is. I grabbed that, and I had to crawl my way up and claw that freaking corner, dude, until I made it to the top.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah, and I mean, I was terrified the whole time I was there. I was thinking, I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna die. And the moment I got to the top, man, was when freaking it was the most intense feeling I ever had. You know what I mean? It was like freaking life just came right back into me. I went from about thinking I was gonna die to freaking,
Right.
you know what I mean? And like,
Oh, goodness.
that's not really as close as a car accident, you know, but
No, I think it changes your perception somehow too. I know it does.
mm-hmm.
It changes all things.
Well, it's
I'm
like that's what I was
the
trying to say to you though. Like, you understand how alternate dimensions work, right?
well, kind of, yeah.
It goes according one moment according to another in decisions we make, and then like making a left turn when in reality we should have made a right turn, or making a right turn when we should have made a left turn. Every time I make a decision or a move, I create another alternate dimension that exists.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So, like today, if I frickin' decide not to eat dinner, there's going to be a dimension that's created where I did eat dinner.
Oh, okay.
You see?
Okay. Yeah.
They're always forking off of each other. Everything you do creates a continuum,
Wow.
a new continuum. Every decision you make,
It's
and it has like a butterfly effect, because even really small decisions, the margin of what it sets in motion grows and grows over X amount of time.
Now that would explain when I read a few stories, and actually I heard one on TV not too long ago where this person, I think they maybe had died and went out of their body for a little while, but they met their dead sibling, but he had aged. Like he died when he was only a baby, but he was the age he would have been at that year. So that would explain that, right? Would that explain that? Because I was like, how could you die and then age? You know, I don't know,
Well,
unless you were in an alternate dimension.
it could. And we have messages too, if anybody wants to hear it. It's from John 907I.
Yeah.
He says, "Sup, everyone." And he said, "Real cozy show. Just popped in a ice cold one. Cheers, everyone. I get deja vu going to the same job every day." And then he, well,
I hear you.
that's relatable. He said, "It sounds like shock and adrenaline were flowing. Amazing you survived the crash. Makes you look at life a different after something like that has happened. Makes you slow down and enjoy times a little bit more, and don't get where this different dimension stuff comes in. That's probably with your near-death experience. Like when it comes to that is true. There's so many different explanations to it too. Like it, I mean, it could be one of many different kind of things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All kids
Yeah.
do stupid stuff like that, bro. Sounds like you were just happy to be alive. Yeah, I was real happy to be alive, to be honest with you. And
I never really thought about the alternate dimension thing when after the accident. I more or less thought there was a guardian angel, that something had to happen. Somebody had to intervene because I was so stupid that day. But yeah, and it just wasn't my time.
now,
But it could be more than one thing. That's for sure.
now let me elaborate too, because this last comment. He says these things are decisions, bro, not dimensions. And what we're talking about here is for every decision you make, you create another dimension, and you don't have any control over that. No choice, anything. It's every decision you make creates an alternate dimension where you could have done something differently and it would result in this. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That was cool. I got on there and frickin' he come in and he was talking up. Sorry I didn't catch you in time, John 907I.
Yeah.
So that's good that we're getting some comments and stuff, though. That shows the views are picking up a little bit. So that's really good.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are cool. I mean, it's like frickin',
Yeah.
you know.
Not as cool as the Rochester, but
No.
That's
getting
true.
close.
That's true.
We're calling Tiger. But anyway.
You need to start.
Yeah.
Need to start handing out cookies and saying frickin' sweet melodic stuff like I do, like my sweet melodic voice.
Yes. You know, it's funny, the older you get, the more stuff you've been through and the more you see. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know, when I was younger, I was like, I didn't believe a lot of things I heard. And then as you know, go through life and start experiencing them, you know, it seems like almost anything's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the stuff you hear, you're like, oh, but then, yeah, there's a lot of things we can't explain going on. So,
well, when you get older too, and it's like I've mentioned it a couple times to a lot of these young guys. You know, they go out and they set expectations for themselves, and they mostly do it because of things like, you know, getting into a marriage, having babies, and then all of a sudden, you know, they want to buy that house, which everybody wants to do. They want to buy the house for their freaking family. And
yeah.
and then all of a sudden this shit in their head starts building up where, well, you know, I want to freaking make this house good so that my kids will have something whenever they get older. And all the time that they're doing that shit and they're building that or paying that freaking mortgage and all that stuff's going on, their kids are growing up. So by the time they get like Austin's age, you know, now Austin's got his cool house, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, he's got his cool house. He doesn't need your frickin' house. You know,
Right.
You know what I mean? And people get caught in that way of thinking that's a trap, where they're gonna frickin', you know, invest in this house, get it all nice and frickin' good, and spend years and years paying all these bills, and their kids just move away and buy their own house.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's time to. I think, you know, and it seems like we all think more is better. Bigger cars, bigger houses, bigger this, bigger that. Then you get into a lifestyle that traps you too, just to make enough money to get through it.
You become a prisoner of debt.
Yep.
It's-
The debt controls you. The house owns you. You don't own it anymore. It's like its own entity.
Yeah.
That's strange, but it does. Like, you know, that's not
That's how
American dream or the
it happens.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, John doesn't agree with us. He doesn't think that decisions we make creates different dimensions and stuff. You know, I mean, to each their own. You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that because I like I said, when my accident happened, I was more like into like I just knew something had intervened. There was something there. So, but I never thought about that. It was Austin that kind of brought it up. So.
Well, I mean, the reason why a lot of people don't believe in that is because they're religious, and like religion really is a issue that a lot of people have because they, like, you're supposed to be open-minded. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And a lot of people who are religious has a real hard time with being open-minded because everything is written in stone in their minds. You know what I'm saying? So the things that are being talked about there don't really get discussed too much in like the paranormal realms and everything, because a lot of people always want to clamp aliens and UFOs to God, you know what I mean, and spiritual things to God, and the afterlife and the paranormal and everything. But
Reincarnation is another big topic that is on the line there, on the fence with the religion too. A lot of people have problems with that. Uh,
but
that
it's a very, very touchy subject with a lot of people, because like it does go against a lot of, like, it goes against a lot of people who are religious in their beliefs, and it doesn't necessarily go against their spiritual beliefs. It's just their personal beliefs.
it's funny how everybody has different opinions and mixed views on stuff. Like my partner, he says he believes that every animal that dies is reincarnated right away. But I said, what about humans? And he's like, he doesn't seem to think that as much. But
Yeah.
I'm like, well, leave it about animals. So, yeah.
Why would animals be reincarnated as opposed to humans? I mean, maybe because humans have more of a mind, so they can stay on the other side longer, so if they so choose, whereas animals are doing more medicine instinct
Hmm.
I don't
to incarnate again.
I don't know.
Well, see, if I stuck to the Christian tradition, then I would have to say that doesn't make sense, because animals don't have souls. We have souls, but animals don't. So
Well, I don't think he believes that. I think he believes they have souls too. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was raised Catholic, so
hmm
you know. Um,
So I certainly believe animals have souls. I mean, you're dealing with some kind of soul when it comes to animals for sure.
yeah,
I've seen that over and
and
over again.
growing up around horses and animals all my life, yeah, there's something there. Um,
Now, what is the exact Bible passage that uh, implies that animals don't have souls? Is there?
it's not written
I
in the
Do
don't.
you
Bible.
know?
It's not written in the Bible. It's just a belief that a lot of Christians have adopted. That
Yeah,
there's absolutely nothing that says animals don't have souls. It's just that
Which is actually in the Bible. The Bible mentions animal spirits, like the spirit of Python is one of the few named animal spirits in the Bible. Um, that's one that the Bible names. So it does talk about animal spirits some. So I don't know where some would get that animals wouldn't have souls when the Bible kind of talks about animal spirits, because you have to have a soul to have a spirit.
hmm
yeah. I don't know. I think some people, like I remember my husband's grandma, just she did not want to talk about anything out of the box. She was Christian, but she was afraid to talk about anything paranormal or maybe spiritual. And because I don't know if that's something that she was raised with. I think that is a belief in some Christian religion that you shouldn't even talk about things like that. You shouldn't go to psychics. You shouldn't do anything like that.
yeah.
She was old school.
You know,
She was old school Christian, so
I guess
she was afraid to talk about any of that stuff for like fear of conjuring up bad stuff, I think.
I mean, I can respect that, but I feel like, and this is my personal belief, is that I mean, God exists, but I think also not all psychics are bad. There are a lot of bad ones, but I think that, like we had discussed this on one of my shows a few weeks ago or something, where some people are psychic and have that ability, and others don't. It's like some people are more athletic than someone else,
Right.
and I also think it's something you can work on. Maybe you want to be an athlete and do work on it, and you get better. I think if you kind of have that gift, you can either decide you don't want to deal with it and shut it down, maybe, or you can work on it and get, it gets stronger. I think it's a gift. I don't think it's anything demonic unless you yourself make it demonic. If you're psychic and you want to go on and scare people and tell people horrible things, and I don't know, you can use it for good, just like any ability you have, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
You could,
Ted Bundy was
you
intelligent.
could start it.
He was intelligent, but he
You,
used his intelligence to fool people and to fool women and to fool, to kill people. So, you can, I think that's, again, that goes back to what you decide to do and in this life or in this dimension. So,
you could start a show about the CIA spying on everybody and scare the shit out of them. Called Snow.
Don't do
we
that.
don't.
Don't do that. John's already said, "Oh, don't do that." We could do
Oh
that.
yeah, he wasn't having it.
John's
yeah.
scared but I did mention that. I was telling you guys both.
No, we got a couple more comments. Now, John went on to say a lot of people look at buying a house as setting up a foundation for their family in the future, which in some instances,
Yeah.
that's 100% true. But I'm talking about when your mind starts freaking telling you that you're going to do this so that your kid has a place to live later on, and a lot of them do it, you know. I mean,
Well, that's a different, yeah.
investing
Yeah.
in your family is one thing, but holding on to it because you want your kids to have a place in the future, that's just complete nonsense. That you playing tricks with yourself, because they're going to grow older and they're going to buy their own houses and they're not going to want anything to do with your house, So
Well, in the natural progression is like eventually you will downsize your home, or maybe when you decide to downsize, your kids maybe could buy it or want to live in it if they want to buy it. I mean, um, my husband and I had the big house, and I mean, Austin would have loved to buy it, but he also was realistic in that, when his father died, he wanted maybe to buy it, but he was also realistic in knowing that it was too big and it really wasn't what he wanted. So there's different
I mean,
things that happen.
I loved, I loved the setting and everything, but it was more than I could keep up with financially. That was the problem. It was just too much to keep up with financially.
hmm
It's
So
it was too much for your dad and I. I was wanting to downsize. So
if I could have bought it, if I could have bought it and kept it, I absolutely would have. But I didn't have enough money to buy it, let alone keep up with the things it needed done.
but some
which was unfortunate, but that's just how it was.
But sometimes the parents will stay in the home and the kids will move on, and then when they pass away, at least they'll have the estate that they'll sell it and
Yeah, I
have
mean
money.
that's all I'm saying. Don't get yourself hooked up in these false dreams like your kids are going to live with you until they're 35. I mean that shit's just not going to happen.
I've with people who said they had their kids to take care of them when they were old. I had kids because I know I was going to get old and I want my kids to take care of me. I'm like, wow, I hope that's not the only reason children,
Yeah.
because who thinks like that? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
You hope they would maybe if they maybe try to guide you and help you, but not like they were saying.
yeah. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I help take care of my parents. They live with me, and
All did.
you know what I mean. But the thing of it is I moved away from home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like saying freaking, well, I'm gonna have to go and take care of my parents someday. It just didn't work out that way, Is they needed my
Right.
help. And, I'm not one of those people who thinks freaking that because their parents are sick and not able to take care of themselves, I should just put them in a nursing home, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
and
That's something.
and you don't find too many people like that these days either who actually gives a damn about the elderly. I mean, in their own families, much less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's now we have Nathaniel Ball too, and he says that's referring to the multiverse theory. It's a real scientific theory, and I agree with him. That's something I didn't want to really mention because people don't
What
really.
was
It's the theory of relativity, or the
uh
yeah. Well, it's actually the multiverse theory,
okay.
and that was basically what I was explaining. It is an actual scientific theory, and Austin even knows that too. I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was talking about in relation to the all the alternate dimensions and stuff. Like,
Right.
you know how like reality is made up of molecular chains or chains of atoms, and those chains, depending on how they're configured, they branch out into alternate dimensions, and then you got your decisions you make that lead you into down alternate dimensions and stuff like that. That was kind of what I was referring to as the multiverse theory. Like, oh, there's the infinite number of universes, and we're constantly going through them based on decisions we make, and like, or when you visualize something too, like thoughts are energy that are intertwined with physical reality, and those thoughts create new dimensions too sometimes without you physically even making a decision. If you use those, if you focus on those thoughts long enough that they're able to take hold. Basically, it's the premise of visualization. But it all ties back into the multiverse theory.
That's pretty deep. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Did you say there's another comment too, Gerald?
Gerald.
Roger.
You can just call me Gerald. Don't worry, it's cool. Just say Gerald. It was from John. John said that he said that not from where I'm from, guys. My kids will never afford a home these days. And you know,
Oh, that's true. I think that's getting to be more and more unrealistic to get a home because, especially, I mean, when I bought this house, I've been here probably just 5 years. This house is supposed to be worth twice as much as it was 5 years ago, which is crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy. And then if you look at the house payments and the taxes and the insurance, it's crazy. And I don't live, this is not like a mansion or a huge house that I live in. So you're looking at some of these big homes that were 350,000 just a few years ago. I was looking into real estate the other day at some houses, just looking at them, and they're like $800,000. I mean, you're talking about payments that are between, by the time you get done with taxes and insurance, that are way over 2,000 to 3,000 maybe a month. So I do wonder. And then just rent is getting crazy. It's out of control.
well, I just think that John is like a science hater. Don't worry about all that.
Is he a what?
A science hater.
Oh no.
You talking about old John or just a viewer named John?
A viewer named John 907I.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay, he's
I
not the.
totally agree with him when you're talking about your children having a home. I agree. I've done real estate. I almost went
agree.
into, and it's just phenomenal now.
But see, that's the mindset though. It goes back to the mindset I'm talking about. Like, come on, dude. Seriously, even though they can't afford a freaking house, you really think they're gonna freaking live with you when they got a woman they just freaking married and they just had a baby with? They're just gonna live up in your house with you?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know that if what he was just saying is just to be able to afford a home, like maybe
Yeah.
out in rent. I don't know.
I can
Rent
understand that, and I believe it, but
I think everything is going to have to get cheaper somehow for young people to afford to buy homes or even rent, because rent you got to get first month's rent, you got to get deposit, got to get last month's rent. I mean, it costs as much to get into a small rental unit as it does to get a down payment on a home. I mean, the whole thing with real estate is out of control. So I
But
understand. There.
but you see, I mean, you also got to understand, these aren't the days of the Waltons. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh,
we're not living in the Waltons generation where 12 freaking kids live in a big house that was built by freaking the wood made at the freaking the what were they the sawmill freaking down the mountain. You know what I mean? It's like
that's true. I mean, we don't like, if you look at the big homes and in some of the cities and places, older homes where, families all did grow to get live together, but times change. We're not there, but I don't know.
Yeah, a
Yeah, but I don't know what.
long time ago, they had the extended families and everything were living together, but
Yeah,
that was
that
that was like the Waltons era.
yeah.
that was financial, but now I don't know what's going to happen. I do know some families are trying to live together because of finances, but I don't know how well that's working out.
Probably killing each other. Oh wait, yeah, they are. We just had an episode about that.
Oh, what?
Yeah, the
Oh,
familicide.
I couldn't even use your freaking thumbnail because I named it Familicide, and freaking Rumble refused to allow me to use that as a freaking thumbnail.
are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Well,
just because I named it Familicide.
well, you just need to change it. I guess you could change
I
the.
don't know.
Yeah, just change the name is what I had to do.
But I just couldn't believe that,
I
like,
thought Rumble was
that year that
Yeah, I
the
know. I
the guys.
understand, Austin. I understand. I mean,
Yeah. Uh, I
I
could
thought Rumble was for each
believe.
platform.
you tell me, man.
Yes,
You're muting out, Austin.
Yeah,
Hear you.
your phone's freaking on you.
Um.
But yeah, I mean they are. I mean it's like it's crazy, but they are. You know, they're living together and they're killing each other. They just can't stand each other.
Well, that poor guy was trying to raise, like he was trying to support a whole family, and back in the 40s, his house payment was 1,600 something a month,
Oh
which is
shit! That
crazy.
yeah, that was back in the 40s too, wasn't it?
I think it was
the 20s.
Oh wow!
20s, and
I,
I can't
I,
even believe that. That's another problem we have is banks loaning too much money to people and just putting them under tremendous pressure. But that's like a financial thing, so not really paranormal,
well,
but
I need to retract what I said then because I mean that is a big deal right there. That was back in the 20s, dude. That's the Walton era that we were just talking about. Like,
right,
I mean, so maybe
right.
maybe I
But
need.
we've become so self-sufficient these days. I mean, and it's really hard to find housing and stuff. It's kind of what is it?
It's a inflation.
Yeah, but like
Inflation.
we raised our kids to be very independent, but now we're getting back to where it's hard for them to be independent. So it's a push-pull thing. It's like dichotomy, I guess. Is that what the word is? You know?
Well, for me, I see it. I've had episodes about this before too, and like with this internet thing, I don't think in a lot of ways that it's been a positive thing because like they're not really independent. You know what I mean? If you stop and think about it, a lot of them are dependent on freaking computers. The majority of the young people in this country sit down in front of the computer all day if they're not at work playing video games.
Yeah. What's scary? This is kind of weird. Is you could probably go months without really having to interact with people. Let's say you had a job where you just went in and did didn't have to socialize, and then you come back home. You can order your food. You can pick it up. You can basically order anything you need from Amazon or any places like that nowadays online. You can order mowers and equipment. I mean, you can go how many years could you go without having to really interact with anyone? Because everything you,
Without any human interaction.
huh? What?
Without any human interaction at all.
Right. I mean, yeah, you
Could you imagine how that would be like? Like freaking, you'd be freaking like sitting around with a beard all the way down to your belly button and freaking scratching your balls all the time. Cause
But you wouldn't need to do that because you could get a razor. All I have to do is get some razor
why?
and shaving
Why?
cream.
I don't have
I
to.
mean,
I don't have to associate with nobody. I don't have to
well,
freaking do nothing. You know, just hang out and freaking let my hair grow out. And
but and then I do see that sometimes on Facebook, or I'll see somebody say, I haven't left my home in days. Younger people, I haven't left my home in days. I work from home. I guess I need to get out.
Hell, you remember that phase I went through where I barely left home at all for like 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, I mean,
years ago.
A tendency to kind of get more and more off to yourself. What do you call it?
all of a sudden you're a
Reclusive.
hippie. All of a sudden you're a hippie, and you're freaking like hanging out and posting rainbow tribe freaking tattoos or pictures and shit up around you.
Well, pretty soon we'll have AIs. You can just have, like, if you need company, you can just talk to them. They probably won't argue with you.
Mm-hmm.
They got drones to deliver all the stuff you order. There'll just be a big drone land in your backyard with all your groceries and stuff, and you just go out there and get it.
Well, now Kroger's and all those places bring your groceries. And then, like, at Miami University, they have those little robots running around with the food. And, and a lot of big cities have that's how they deliver food to apartment houses and things like that.
Well,
is those little...
I almost had a job a few years ago at a place that works with Kroger. Then they have like robots that pick out groceries in this big thing they call the hive. It's like a big thing where all the groceries are stacked up inside like a big cylinder, and the robots go and they get it and load it up and put it on trucks and ship it out to people who've ordered stuff.
That's creepy. That's
and
like a bad episode of X-Files, dude.
I'll have to find the link to that video that they sent me back when I was gonna interview for that place. It was actually, they opened it up down the road over in Monroe, next town over.
Yeah, there's nothing they can't teach them to do, is there? I mean, eventually, won't they be able to like do your hair or do all kinds of stuff?
There won't be any use for you anymore at all, being a human being.
Yeah.
You'll be obsolete.
But if they use our voices, like, if they do, like when we do online stuff and they get our voices and somehow put them in the AIs, how will we know the difference between the AI or a real person? Like, say if Lowe's or someplace, well, I probably shouldn't mention that.
I can actually tell, because I've actually been dabbling on it because I hang out with Mr. Robot, and he freaking really loves that AI stuff. So, I mean, I've actually dabbled around it. It's not really that hard to recognize AI.
Right now.
Yeah,
but if they can use the voice with an AI, like say this company I dealt with or something, I did that. So instead of using a password, I did voice recognition, and say they put it in an AI. I wonder if, like, my son, like if Austin would be able to tell the difference, between me and it, if it looked just like me. He wouldn't.
Well, I know.
That's one of the things, like, and this is something that happened to me, and this is kind of creepy. This is paranormal. One night I woke up, and like Austin always, when he lived at home, if he was coming in the door or something, he'd say, "Hey, Mom," or if he had something to say, he'd always say, "Hey, Mom." That's what he'd do. So I woke up one night, and I heard his voice. He said, "Hey, Mom." It was like he was standing in my bedroom, so I was freaking out. But then, being his mom, there seemed to be something just a little bit off with it. It was like something was practicing on me or something. And I was like, well, that's weird. And he's not in the room. And so he had a studio at the time, and I was laying there a little bit, and I thought, well, I'm going to go see if he, if he called my name. I know he didn't because the door was closed and I never heard anything. So I walked in there and asked him. He said, no, I've been in the studio most all night. But that was the one thing to me. I was like, okay, I know that wasn't him, but I know something was messing with my head. But that's the one thing that I could tell as his mom, that's not him. And I read a story about that too, where a woman, she went to visit her daughter, and she woke up early one morning, and she just took a walk outside. She was just kind of, drinking her coffee and took a walk outside. And she said she heard her daughter in this shed or something in this barn telling her to come out. And she started to, and then she was like, that sounds like my daughter, but doesn't quite sound like her. So she went back in the house, and she was sitting there, and her daughter came downstairs and said, she said, I thought I heard you outside. And she's like, no, I've been asleep. So that's very human. That's a very human thing, our voices. As a mom, that's what I say.
Well, that was a strange story, and I could easily blame that on spirits and paranormal, but that could also go into what Austin's topic is too. It really could, I mean, there could, and like John, okay, the John that was in the chat, obviously he's a science hater, you know what I mean, and that it doesn't even pertain to just freaking like religion. Like, people who are in the paranormal community also hate science, like, you know what I mean? And they have a hard time with this freaking time-space continuum stuff that we're talking about, because it doesn't fit with their paradigm. You know what I mean? It doesn't fit with their agenda, because it's got to be all ghost. It can't be something else, or it's got to be all aliens. It's got
be of everything, like you said.
You know what I mean?
And I think it can.
And of course there's the ones too, where they gotta fit UFOs in with ghosts. Ghosts have everything to do with freaking UFO sightings, of course. I mean.
No, I never felt that.
but you get what I'm trying to say, though.
Yeah.
It's like.
To think it's a mixed bag, and like I'm not even. UFOs and all that stuff, I think it's totally different than some of the ghosts.
I don't even like calling UFOs paranormal, because it is not paranormal.
I wonder if it's I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
I completely think that whoever started calling UFOs paranormal was off their rockers.
Well, it is something mysterious and unexplainable. That is sort of true. I guess that it's under paranormal in that respect.
You could lump it into the unexplained.
Yeah.
Along with the paranormal and supernatural, but it's different than the paranormal. It's in a different category of unexplained phenomenon.
No,
right.
It's supernatural. It could be supernatural. Don't get me wrong, because I do distinguish between supernatural and paranormal. But
and then
I'm done.
What'd you say?
And then how do we know that some of these UFOs and like aliens and stuff we see aren't time travelers too? Like, going back to the original,
right?
The original point. That's another thing that when you talk about that to touch on too. 'Cause some people think they're time travelers, not just people.
That reminds me of a story. I don't know if I ever told that one. Do you want to tell it, or do you want me to? About the guy that we saw out at our house, the old farmhouse where you grew up.
Oh yeah.
The Huey Lewis guy.
Yeah, tell him about that.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I told the story.
Huey Lewis.
I don't remember you ever telling a story on it in any episode of this show. So.
No, I might have told Roger. It seems, or not Roger, John. It seems like I told John. It's been a while. So Austin and I would or even just me. We would walk the dog. I would walk the dogs. We had 3 dogs, and we're out on an old country road. No leashes, nothing. I would walk them down the road almost every night, and give them a little exercise. So one night, Austin and I were starting to go out to the road, and it was dark. And this is a road that hardly ever has any traffic, so we're going out, and there's this big cornfield, and we couldn't really see what was going on up there, but all three of our dogs started barking and going crazy. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, there's a raccoon or something up there. And the one dog we had was big, and he was barking like he was in a. I mean, he barked, it sounded like he was in a barrel, and it's scary. So he's barking, and we're like we start to get out on the road. We're starting to go up there to walk up the field, see what's going on. And so as we're starting to go up on the road, this guy comes out of the cornfield. The corn was, pretty high. He comes out of the cornfield, and I swear he looked like Huey Lewis, but this was probably year 2000. I mean, this was past then. Huey Lewis wasn't even pop. So he had on a bomber jacket. He had a mullet kind of, and this guy's walking. All three of my dogs are running around him, and he's not making a noise. He's not screaming. He's not doing nothing. So I told Austin, I was like, get back to the house, because I think this guy's totally nuts. Because there's no way that you walk up on that dog that we had, like his name was Hambone, a big dog. I mean, if I was walking down in a cornfield or down in a field and that dog came up on me like that, I would have screamed. So
I'm having a hard time getting Huey Lewis out of my freaking mind, dude. The more you talk, I'm thinking Huey Lewis in the news.
So
he was from that time period, looked like.
So I'm thinking, why is this guy? First off, he didn't make a noise, and my dogs are running around him, so I'm yelling at the dogs. They're still barking at him, especially our big one. And then I told Austin to go back to the house because I was scared, and the guy was really close to us. And I looked at him, and I think Austin said, hey, and the guy just kept walking. And the closer he got to, it's like he had on these faded blue jeans and the high top tennis shoes, and he just wasn't acting right. So I'm turning around, getting Austin back to the house. The dogs start to come with me. The one is still barking at him. I got them to come with me. And I went in and I called the police because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and there's this guy just comes out of the field walking down the road that didn't say nothing. He didn't say nothing. He didn't acknowledge Austin. He just kept walking straight. He didn't scream when the dogs were barking at him. I don't know, is he deaf or what? I mean, come on. It doesn't make any sense. So anyways, I called police. Of course, out there, the police are like, well, you're on the Butler Preble County line. You're never going to get anybody out there. So I don't know if they ever came. He went walking on up the road. And then so we got ourselves together for a few minutes and ran back out there, and we didn't see him anymore. So I don't know where he went. Mm-hmm. He couldn't get into the cornfield. But the scary part is just, I still think about it to this day. It's like, you got this big dog running after you and two other dogs barking and carrying on, and you didn't even make a noise, because if he had, we would have heard him. And you would have thought he would have screamed or something. And then, I mean, I know out in the country, and maybe he was growing some pot out there, but I don't think so. No. Not really, because it was strange. And then we didn't see any car. We never saw, if he went to a car, it would have had to be, he would have had to go in the field and go to the back road, which was a good ways back there. So we
kind of like he just disappeared very suddenly, from what I recall.
And we, like, you talk about time slips. I was like, and Austin and I, after we got our composure and talked about it, I was like, did he look like he walked out of the 80s? Like, it was 80s, what is it? 87.
Well, I'll tell you what, my ex and my youngest boy, my youngest boy and all of them, they live way out in BFE. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it takes freaking the county sheriffs to go out there. It would take them like 2-3 hours to get there. And I was when I was seeing my son's mom, I would be out there, and I'll tell you right now, just from what she says and all of her family members that are out there, it's creepy as heck. I mean, there are some
Yeah.
strange stuff going on out there, and like whenever I watch these Bigfoot freaking videos where everybody's talking about beating a freaking stick up against the wall, tree. I laugh
Yeah.
because I know what that's really about. Okay, that's about attracting freaking deers. It's against the law. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that's how you bait deer so that you can freaking shoot them. You know what I mean? And baiting's illegal
Right.
in Illinois. You know, so but when they do that, freaking they're making it out like freaking Bigfoot's freaking beating on a freaking tree to respond to, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's a deer, dude. You know.
They're just covering their tracks by doing that.
Yeah.
We're just Bigfoot hunting.
Yeah.
But where we lived, we were on a county line. So we lived up there almost 30 years. So, I mean, there's been a few times I called police. And every time they would say, well, what county are you in? And I was like, I've lived here for several years. I am in Preble County. Well, we got to know because we got to know who to send out there. And then by the time anybody'd ever get out there, whatever it would be, probably have killed us if we, you have to have, but most of the
That's why
time,
you have a gun.
every single time I ever go, it would make me so mad. They would be like, "Are you sure you're in Preble County?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're in Preble County." I send my kids to Preble, Shawnee, to Preble County. That's where we are. We're not in Butler. I said, "Right, we don't send anybody out from Butler County." Like it's going to kill it. But either one was pretty far away. Butler County was far, and then Preble County, we were right on the last house in Preble County. So Preble County was up in, I don't know where it was, Austin, past Eaton or something.
You just know the county. You don't know anything about the rest of it. You just know you're on the county road.
It would have been, like I said, it would have been a long time for them to get out there. They really just didn't want to bother with us. And
Yeah.
They had to. But that night, I don't know. I really can't explain it. There was something weird about him. And when Austin said, "Hey," I thought at least he'd say something. And that's why I was like, let's get back to the house, because obviously this man's either insane or we just couldn't figure it out. We were scared, weren't we, Austin? It was pretty scary.
There was another time I was walking down the road by myself out there, and I saw what appeared at a distance, what appeared to be a guy like wearing 1700s clothing, and there was a woman in an 1800s dress. Now they looked kind of translucent, but it was a similar thing. They were like out of a different time period. It was like there was a lot of different time periods kind of overlapping there, and every now and then you get a glimpse into them. Because that same thing happened to me.
Do you remember if, like, when he was walking down the road, if he made any noise? But the dogs were barking. So I was thinking,
No, he didn't.
Scared, the dogs were barking. But I don't.
No, he didn't make any noise.
Like, it was just odd. I mean, I don't know if he was a ghost, but it certainly is not something typical. That's why when I called when I called 911,
Summer. Did he
Yes.
did he dress like Huey Lewis?
That's what I said he did. Yeah, that's what was funny. He had a mullet, the mullet hair.
Yeah.
He had on the bomber jacket, and I think he had on I can't remember what his shirt looked like. He had on some kind of shirt though, and then the jeans were the old acid jeans.
Yeah.
Wash pencil leggers.
Yeah, and he had the high top, remember the Reeboks and stuff back in the day? The
Yeah.
high tops. It's like Huey Lewis walked out of the cornfield. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like, and he kind of looked like him, it just was weird, but it wasn't Huey Lewis, of course, but I was like, that he totally looked like he walked out of that era.
He looked like he walked out in 1985.
But that wasn't the weirdest part. Was, like I said, the weirdest part was like our dog. I mean, this dog, he weighed 100 pounds, Roger. He was like a Mastiff boxer or something. And he was usually a pretty nice dog, but he could be mean. And like I said, when he bark at you, and he was coming at him, and they were all the other dogs were running around him, and he just kept walking. He just kept walking. And then we're also says, hey, he just keeps walking, looking straight ahead. He didn't even look at us.
Now that could be. He could have been terrified too, though, because he had dogs surrounding him and stuff.
That's true, but I don't know how. Like, okay, when we were first coming out on the road and the dogs took off, I don't know how he knew there was any humans around unless he heard us talking.
Yeah.
I may heard us talking and he thought, oh my God, these dogs. And it scared him, but he thought, I'm not going to say anything because then they'll.
Yeah. Kind of like the guy. It was kind of like the guy appeared out of nowhere and then disappeared just as fast as he appeared too. And then when you put together the '80s clothes he was wearing, it was sort of like a time slip sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what he was, but it sure was a strange situation.
Now, see, I asked I asked Karma and I asked John about it, and they gave some good theories too on that same subject. So, frickin', if you ever get a chance, frickin' sit down and have a conversation with John about it. He really does get. I mean, it's not as cool as mine, but my theory.
I told John that story, but it was when we did an interview, maybe when he first started interviewing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like his theory on time slips.
Yeah, on time, especially. What was it? We got more into the area of time and space. I mean, things like that. Like when you look at people that just appear out of nowhere and then they vanish. A lot of people believe that's them slipping in between one dimension to another one. And
it's
what?
Like 1985, and then he walked into our.
Yeah. Go on, Austin. I'm sorry.
Oh. So maybe he was like in 1985, and then he walked into our year, and then back into 1985, or maybe some other year.
Now, something I thought.
That was kind of what.
Go on, Austin. Keep every time. Go ahead.
It's because there's a delay when we talk, so like you think somebody's done talking and you start to talk, but you're talking over them and you don't know it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like what happened to you, where you like started to walk into another time period and then back out of it into your current time period.
Yeah.
Right. Something I didn't think about, and we've never discussed it, Austin, was the highway up the road from us. There has always been a lot of accidents on 503. I mean, it's a possibility that he was killed in an accident there. There was always a lot of accidents up there on that road.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we lived by a highway, but it was a pretty good distance from us. But there was a lot of accidents because there was curves, a curvy road, and people go too fast. So maybe he got killed in an accident there, and he was a ghost. I don't know, but it certainly because
it sounds like a good. It sounds like a good candidate for it because John was a science hater. Don't get me wrong. I'll stick to that. But he does bring up a good point. There's a lot of other things that it could have been. You know what I mean? And if you believe in the paranormal and stuff like that, there's a good chance that's most likely what it was. You might have seen a spirit,
Well, how do you know? That's what we were talking about last week when we were talking to the lady that had some comments about seeing a ghost. I mean, how do you know sometimes if you see a whole person and that maybe they act a little strange, if they are something that's not like the rest of, how do you know sometimes?
Now, didn't she say that she just knew? It was.
Yeah, he did because the person, it was obvious, I think, and they didn't see the full apparition completely either. I think they did a couple times, wasn't it, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes if there are ghosts, sometimes you see part of them, or maybe you'll see a whole ghost, and of course, from the way they're dressed that they're a ghost. Like my mother, like I said, she saw a ghost on the dish line at Miami University. But she knew there wasn't any students dressed in all black, long black dresses, dressed like that, and there was no students in there because it was early. And she disappeared in front of her eyes. So, yeah, you just
For me, I don't see a distinction between like the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Okay, like I believe that they're all connected. So, like when it comes to science, you know what I mean. Science, at some time later on, will be able to explain a lot of the things that we call paranormal. You know what I mean?
right.
Science someday will have a good you know, and
Right. They said some people are looking that are science, like into science, or knowing that some things don't add up. But I mean, I'm not against science. That it has its place too. I'm not all one sided.
yeah,
You know. I
I
mean, there's things that have been scientifically proven, but there's a lot of things that happen that we can't explain that obviously have happened. You know, and so and that aren't scientific, but
yeah,
yeah,
I
unless the world is lying and making up stories, but I
well,
don't think so.
that happens too. So you got to be open minded even there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't believe everything or fall for anything. Or,
Right.
you know, don't like take everything at face value, because there are people out there. At least we're having the conversation. You know what I mean? There's some people that'll get on there up there and says this is what we know, and then they start freaking spilling off. Well, I'll dare to say it. Let's just say it. You know, ancient astronauts. I mean, those guys are so full of shit. They're everything they say that this is what we know. Freaking, there's no proof backing up their allegations, and they purposely do that.
And they say that's a fact. They say what they're saying is fact, and not belief, but not belief or just research they're doing based on belief. You know, like me and Roger do with everything about aliens. We don't come out and say it's fact. They say it's fact.
Yeah.
And it's an agenda they push.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're having the conversation, but we're not telling people, you know, this is fact. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I mean, like I said, even like with the Huey Lewis guy, there could be several things. I mean, maybe it was a real person. Like I said, he heard us and he got scared and thought, oh my gosh, I don't know, now they're gonna see me and it's gonna be weird, and I don't know what he was doing there in the cornfield on this back road where there's only a few houses. But
I know what the name of this episode's gonna be. Huey Lewis in the news.
the ghost of Huey. But,
No, Huey Lewis in the news. In the news.
But I mean,
I am the news.
he saw him, we thought he was real, but you get to thinking back on it and you're like, oh, that was a little strange. I mean, the way he acted, and that's why I called the police, because they were like, well, is he still out there? I said, I think he is, but it's too odd. I said, there's no car, I don't see any car. I said, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and I said, he's just acting strange. I said,
So you know what you obviously know what my next question to you is going to be, right?
huh, no. What'd you say?
I know. I said you do know what my next question is going to be, right?
No, what?
When the cops ask you to give a description, what did you say?
They didn't come out. They didn't care. They were like,
okay.
If, you know, if you live out in the country, you better have a big dog like we did, and maybe you better have a firearm.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to come out.
Like, just a future reference, if it happens again and you do get a cop coming to your house, don't go telling them that the police officer that whoever it was looked like Huey Lewis.
No, they probably would be like, no, I didn't tell her that, because I was like, now she'll never come out.
Yeah.
They'll think but
I just think you were on drugs or something, man.
Yeah.
But you know, it is strange because the highway that we lived by, there was a lot of accidents, and you know, there shouldn't have been. It was just people going too fast there. So there had been a lot of fatalities up around our house.
Bobdub is in the chat, and she says, "Hey, now here in a little bit, I've got to do a live stream with her, so
What?
and it's going to be interesting tonight. She's going to tell her story to us. So
Oh, okay.
Is it going to be like an episode of Duality with Bob Dub, or
no, when I do my stories, what it is the person sits down and they just tell their life story from beginning to whenever they want to end it. That was actually what I did with John. They
Oh,
they,
really?
yeah, they get to pick wherever they want to start their life story at any point in their life, and they just do it as far up as they want to. They can say it to this day, you know, or they can end it somewhere.
Oh,
oh yeah, I'll definitely have to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. When are you having that on?
Well, she is supposed to be contacting Auto X, and she after that he said that he'd show up, and then there's another guy, Rush, that's supposed to. She's hoping answers back, and he'll show up for it too. But
Cool.
Special names.
but yeah, it's supposed to be on sometime tonight. I told her freaking that I'm gonna keep it as private as I can, so because it's a very personal thing. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced somebody doing that or not. Like old John did it for me once, and
No.
it's pretty good. If you guys ever want to do one, let me know.
Yep.
Now, so you know, like telling your life experiences as what, like
Just tell your
paranormal,
story.
or just from?
Just tell your story. Anything and everything. If whatever
Well,
you
see,
whatever you're willing to say, and whatever you want to say, that this has happened, this is what happened in my life.
yeah. See, now when I
What's-
started interviewing with John, that's what I was trying to do. Was trying to again, I was trying to bring structure, but what I did is I started with kind of all the different homes I've lived in, and the paranormal things that I could remember that happened in those homes.
Mm-hmm.
And we got into some real good stuff, and I really didn't finish it out with him. And then, you know, I kind of started interviewing with you, and it went in a lot of different
See,
directions.
that makes sense. Though you got with the cool dude.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
It was going pretty well with John. It really was, because like every episode I'd be telling a different story about a different house I lived in, because most of them I did have some experiences in, but not all. But yeah, so it kind of went through my, you know, starting when I was a little girl and growing up in my parents' house and on. So that's kind of a cool thing to do. And you also learn a lot, and because you forget a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of revisit it, and I like that.
Now with this, what happens is you start, you finish, nobody talks. They listen to you tell your story, and then it's up to you if you want them to ask questions or make comments afterwards.
Oh, okay.
So,
Neat.
and I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
understand that it's a very spiritual thing too. Like this isn't just you telling your story, because like when you do it, you go through it's a process. You start remembering things inside of your head. So
That said, it does awaken. It makes you awaken, or just, yeah, it's like doing it again. I mean, it's different, and also as you go along, you remember things that you have forgotten.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to do it, let me know and we can set something up. So
Yeah.
That series called.
it's my it's my storyteller channel. I don't make it into like a series. It's just all about storytelling. And
Oh, okay. So you said that then sometime.
yeah,
Okay, look for it.
No,
Yeah.
I'll freaking see if Bob Dub wants me to post it and everything, and we can post it up and go from there. I'll find out real quick if she's still on there.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have any posts that you've done from past episodes or whatever,
I've got
share them.
yeah, I've got some cool ones. I've even got one of Tan. Tan told his story, and he was actually a child raised in Vietnam after the Vietnam War, and his father was an officer in the old Vietnam regime that was taken over by the new one today. And
Cool.
yeah, it was. I told him straight out that could easily be a freaking movie. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow. Yeah, I bet you that's real interesting. So,
Absolutely. Share the links with any of the old ones you got.
All right,
yeah.
I can do that.
Do we have any more comments?
No, that was it. Freaking Bob Dub said hey. She's probably just stopping in, wanting to find out.
Good to hear from you again, Bob Dub.
She,
Miss
she,
our Lewis thing.
she knows me. It's like you women know me so well. You're like, you better contact Roger. He's gonna forget.
Right.
You know.
Oh,
They all do it. Even Carmen used to do that stuff to me too. She'd be like, Roger, are you ready?
yeah, she was supposed to interview me, but then I think she dropped off. Right
Yeah.
with John.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did watch something with her, I think, and John. Yeah. So, but yeah, well, too, when we were talking about time slips, I know Huey. That was one of the things he could have done is like maybe he was just walking along, being like he was in the '80s, listening to. And he's all,
listening to Huey Lewis in the news on his cassette deck and his cassette walkie.
I would,
Walkman.
if I was in the 1980s and I was just walking along and I ended up freaking coming outside of a cornfield to a bunch of dogs in the middle of the country.
Crazy dog, and he's like these two people, and I don't know, they looked like they were dressed weird. He probably thought we were dressed weird. He'd be like, they were dressed weird and they were acting weird and they were acting strange, and I was in this field and I didn't know I was, and these dogs are scaring me.
I would shit my pants, dude. I would literally shit my pants.
Now, if you saw this dog, Roger, you'd have been scared of him because he was something, wasn't he, Austin? He was a major dog.
He was a scary beast.
But he was sweet.
To say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, he was nice once you got to know him, but for strangers, he was really scary.
He was the funniest dog I've ever had, because when a person came to our house, some people could come in and he'd let them pet him right away. But other people, they'd come in, they'd start to pet him, and he'd growl at them. And he would have to get to know them. Like, they would have to come back maybe 2 or 3 times, and he'd decide, hey, they're okay. But I've never seen a dog like that. And then, like, a few times my husband wasn't there. One time, a guy came over that was my husband's friend, and he was talking to me, and Hambone walked around the dining room table and was coming up behind. This guy's name was Greg. Coming up behind Greg. And I told Greg, I said, Greg, you might want to walk over here. So he did, because Hambone was watching him and he was stalking him. And he was like, he knew, like, I was alone and he didn't like it. He was like, I don't like this guy. I don't know who he is. But I'm going to get around him and behind him. And I don't know if he would have bit him. I think he probably was ready to,
Mm-hmm.
So he was very different. I think it's that, what kind of dog did I say he was? He's Mastiff. And he might have a little Chow in him, too. Chows are a little different. Chow and Boxer, maybe.
Yeah.
But and he like a black tongue.
That's crazy.
So,
I would definitely shit my pants. I know what those are. Those are big dogs.
Well, and when
they are.
So scary, his bark was always so scary. And when you live out in the country like that, you have a dog that's scary like that. But you don't think.
Now, isn't that kind of like Beethoven?
It was.
That's
But
that's crazy. No,
so
you better let me go because I think they're wanting me to get this stuff started on the other one. So it looks like I'm going to have an interesting night.
so where do we go to get in there? Listen to it. What's
Um,
it?
let me find out here in a minute and see
Okay.
because
Yeah.
she said that Colin her husband's going to be in there listening too, which is cool. So
Okay.
and I can find out after the stream and see. I'm gonna see if she'll see if she thinks it'll be okay for all of us to be there too because
Okay.
this is
Well,
a pretty
oh,
big event.
cool.
And
Cool.
if you guys want to come in and be a part of the, I don't know if you can handle it. I mean, it's gonna be a while. You might fall asleep.
Oh. Okay. Well, yeah. I stay up pretty late usually, but I'll check in.
Try to,
So
I'll try to make it if I can. I'll have to go eat
Okay,
and
but
whatnot.
yeah.
But if nothing else, share the link with me.
okay.
Yeah.
But are
Um,
are you interested though? If you are, then I'll definitely make sure to ask and make sure if she says it's okay
yeah.
or not.
Yeah. We're definitely interested. I am.
Okay.
Um. So Austin, do you have anything else to add outside of the Huey Lewis thing?
No, I think we covered just about everything we could have thought of about time slips, and time travel, and
That came.
interdimensionary stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, if that was a time slip, it probably was pretty scary for him. Like, if I had had a slip that day that I thought I almost had one, or maybe I did for a few minutes, what if I went in there and, like, all of a sudden I was in the 1900s? How scary is that?
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah.
I could not imagine you in the 1900s. That
No,
that
just
they.
seen what I was wearing because I kind of tie-dye looking dress. It was
Oh
brown and
God.
white. It wasn't brightly colored, but it certainly wasn't something where, oh, I'd be blending in here.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what is she? Who is that?
That would definitely not be normal. Like they'd think you were an Indian woman or a squaw.
I don't even know what they would have thought. I had my bag, and yeah, and I had I think I had a cell phone. Yeah.
One of those people in the pictures of the cell phone from a picture of 1898 or
Now,
some shit.
bobdub
Right.
did comment in the comment section. She said number one with a thumbs up. She says yes, it's big, and she also said you are also kind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob Dub.
All right. So you want to?
All right. Well, I'll just I'm gonna sign off, and hopefully um, we
Tell
can.
people to leave their stories.
Yes.
I have been, but nobody has been.
Well, keep saying it. Keep saying it.
Keep saying it.
You gotta keep
Do you-
saying it.
My email address.
It's
Austin?
it's always in the description for every video that's posted. Now we've made sure that it's on the default upload for everything. So whenever we make a video or a live stream, it shows up in the. Yeah,
So it's summertodd621@hotmail.com. Okay.
that's right. You're good.
Yeah, I can't imagine why I wouldn't get emails. Although there's a weird thing going on with my boyfriend,
know,
is I get his emails.
This goes back to what we were talking about before the stream. Like you sat talking about being organized and stuff. There, I have never had a one single stream where we have ever been organized whatsoever.
But I was with John. We were going through it like him and I
Ever.
were.
I don't care. I mean, I think it's cool as shit.
Okay.
I love this format.
Yeah, I do too.
Roger, it's a lot more. With Roger, it's a lot more raw, and it's just off the cuff.
Yeah. Like I was talking about porn yesterday.
With John, it's yeah, you were. With John, it's a more finely tuned theatrical production.
Well, John and I had a similar personality when it came to that. When we first got together, we decided, how that was going to go. We pretty much did, and and I just kind of went with that, and not that anything's wrong with you, Roger. It was just the way.
Yeah, there is. Trust me, there is something wrong with me, dude.
What's not?
Yeah.
What's not wrong with Roger?
Yeah, you got that one way wrong.
John and I talked about it like in an email first. We were like, what do you think? I said, what do you think about me to start like when I'm small and going on up, with some of the, like, yeah, that's perfect. We'll just go, each episode. But yeah.
Well, it's like with bobdub. Whenever we reached out to Brian Rue, you know what I mean? She didn't. At first, she didn't think it. She should send the email first. I should do it. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, bobdub. It would probably come a lot better if you sent it up, because then it would sound professional and things like that. You don't want me sending a professional type email to somebody inviting them to come on to the show. You know what I mean? And then she thought about it, and she's like, yeah.
So you're not real good with that stuff. I know what that's like. Yeah. I mean, I can do it, but some people can't.
Oh, good. That's cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Next time I need to have somebody come on the show, I'll have you write it up for bobdub, because you guys, bobdub I know of, can do a really good job of it.
Yeah.
She sent out a really good one. I sounded professional and everything.
That's great. That is great. So, well, I guess we'll sign up here tonight, and I guess there's no more comments or anything. So, again, feel free to send me an email with your stories. If you have anything that you'd like me to discuss on the show, if you'd like me to discuss your story, if you want to do it anonymously, let me know. So, we'll say good night and have a good weekend. Bye.
You too.
Easy. God bless.
Bye-bye.
You still?
Yeah.
I don't know if I hung up. I don't think I did.
I got it.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I had to